Okay. Greetings. This is a dumb idea, and I don't. Well, there's three things: the dumb idea, which is completely stupid. Another. So we're gonna start with the first idea. First thing is build back better. Human infrastructure. That the right and far right shot down, still thinking that they were playing the same old game when things have changed as far as where we're going as technology. As 20%, as we know, or more of the jobs today will be gone as through automations and different things. And without training, we will be putting ourselves behind. So, and we can see how with voting rights in Texas, which is their main experiment, as 30 million people have been thrown off the rolls. I have not personally gone in and looked at. That's just reporting. I haven't gone in and looked dug into the numbers as far as who are those demographics and even psychographics of those persons that have been thrown off the voting rolls in Texas. That's their that's their trial balloon. That's their test. So even if this really far right nut job gets in, and a lot of Hispanics are being duped into thinking, well, you're just off white or whatever, off Caucasian for their purposes of being used, they're still going to screw you. Now, I'll be real. I'm kind of like the whole same thing. Was like, dude, why don't you speak English? I'm an asshole like that. I get it. It's kind of annoying, especially the ones who will fake like they can't understand. But and there are definite problems as far as people using the southern border to do nefarious things. However, to just blame blame the persons coming over who aren't mules and all that stuff and just illegals is wrong. We still got to keep working on ideas to screw up the mess as best we can in the Central American countries that were dumped with a lot of complete jerks. To put it nicely, it will take time, as well as rooting out the corruption that's rampant in Mexico and the journalistic freedoms, because a lot of the politicians, speaking of which, uh, that they're so in bed with organized crime. It's a difference between knowing organized crime and maybe using them once in a while to them just straight up telling you what to do. In Mexico, organized crime tells the politicians what to do. And that all that does is squeezes capital out of the country, productive resources out of the country, and makes for just a crappier country. As we know, you know, we now know, uh, we now know about how we're getting outmaneuvered by China, how they pretty much own GM until we buy it back, of course. How they're probably going to use cryptocurrency to help Russia get around. Right now, they're just quietly waiting to see which way they have to flow. Smart power play. Meanwhile, they painted they by China painted an Australian military vessel as one of their ships sailed into the sovereign waters of Australia. This is one of those test response tests things. This has been happening a lot more. So that's the importance. That was the importance of the Build Back Better. The situation in Ukraine showed to Putin and even China, the people don't really have powers from their perspective. Here's a great idea. Here's something everyone makes money. This is something, but out of greed and foolishness, not and short term and very short term thinking, the human infrastructure part is far more money long term, worth far more to the country, both short and long term. But because it goes to a lot of other people, because bigots can't get past being bigots. Looking at you, Lindsay. You're the one who said, "I'll split it up and then we'll do this." Instead, then Sinema's trying to think she's going to be just the racist president, the racist choice as opposed to this great bigoted choice. Manchin just can't get past. He's been using that dog whistle for years. He's not give it up. It's made him a lot of money. We got Mitt and we got old McConnell, who still has not answered what did we get out of his wife rooting around in our transportation systems. What was the end state in the positive for us, not China? And it's getting closer and closer to looking as if Trump truly knew about overthrowing the government, overthrowing the United States, and inserting himself as dictator. Right now, it was quietly said Ivanka Trump decided she's going to speak with the community, and also at the same time, two lawyer prosecutors left the New York district attorney's criminal investigation into the Trumps. I'm not saying that there's something connected, but there is now. See, in New York, man, half you move down south. Trump's been screwing you for years. Criminal enterprises, the criminal families. Trump's been screwing you for years. That whole big pecker in Manhattan. That's what that was. It's the tallest concrete building in Manhattan. Well, Freedom Tower is a concrete center, but right. That's him saying, "I am the mob. I control the mob." That's how he thinks. Or even if he doesn't think, that's what's ended up being said, because you needed mob money and the mob to control the unions to build it with concrete. And the mob controlled concrete back in the 70s. So he's basically saying he's your king. And then he's so connected with the Vori. So just letting you know. You might have thought he's good for business, but he ain't good for business. And he darn sure isn't a patriot. Personal opinion, of course. But with Ivanka, what she's normally going to do, from watching her normal, and also just knowing the type of, just, she's going to go in and think it's all just like, oh, well, sorry, home slice. You don't screw this country over and then think you can just sashay through shit. You're throwing your dad under the bus, or we're going to destroy both your dad and the Kushners. Because you guys' businesses are probably highly interlinked. And Jared was all little, oh, I think put Daddy to freaking jail for getting caught. Well, if he was that fucking stupid, he deserved to go to jail. Look who's talking. But, well, and then you got upset because they proved, and then you're just being a whiny little bitch. And then you're throwing the country under the bus, saying, "Oh, you're more for Israel because you're believe in this far right thing, religious sect." Yeah, go fuck yourself. If Ivanka Trump does not truthfully answer every single question, no fifth pleading, no double speak, no bullshit, yes, no. If you don't know it, you better have the answer, and your lawyer better fucking look it up, and you got 5 minutes to find that answer. If you can't find an answer, guess what? We're coming for you. And we're destroying you and your family and the criminal enterprise it represents. And then you're going to do it in closed door, probably, of course. But when we have hearings, you're going to show up there too. Same shit, same pile. No hem hawing, bullshitting, maybe so. You're going to throw your dad under the bus. Or we're going to destroy your family. By we, I mean we the people. We own this country, not you. And if New York, you let your district attorney, you not put them in their place, what the fuck happened to you? You're in New York. I didn't know you fucking lost your balls. Anywho, a little bit pissed on that one. Because people are dying because of this asshole. People are losing their lives. Ukrainians didn't want war. And I know the average Russian doesn't want war. And Putin was saying, oh, you're supposed to be... Dude, they never viewed themselves as separate from Russia anyways. They just wanted to be Ukrainian. But you kept putting your foot on their neck. What do you think's going to happen? Been doing it for years and generations and generations. It's like Romulus and Remus. Speaking of which, this is supposedly the propaganda piece that was supposed to go out. It was brought down the Wayback Machine on 26 February, 2nd March. This is it in translated into English. And it's all about power. But this is what I found interesting. China, India, Latin America, Africa, the Islamic world. Notice he didn't say the Jewish world. Because he has all the Jewish bankers. There's a lot of Jews who are oligarchs at the same time. In Southeast Asia. Okay. West doesn't lead the world order. That's fine. Whatever. However, China is belligerent to India, trying to take over Latin America and Africa. They sure as hell don't like the Islamic world. The Islamic world views itself as one individual, even though it's across countries, which they have their own mess. And then Southeast Asia, which China is definitely working to control. We have no. Let's do. Germany was like American blood for protection, Russia for gas, and China for trade. Right. Nah. So I get it. I totally understand this situation. Nobody likes being told what to do. And you're saying it's now a back to the different dimensional. And I love this whole the Anglo-Saxon globalization. This is more rich because you're talking about Nazis in Ukraine. And but you have been backing Nazis throughout Europe and the world. The Saxons were Norse, which so does that mean you're going to attack Finland? And well, you just say Anglo-Saxon. You're just saying the old British Empire. I guess you're just assuming, but the Saxons still came out of the north. So you see Tucker Carlson with his Carlson Saxon type name, Norse type name, son of Carl, backing Nazis. Is this why? One of the things I was thinking of Tulsi Gabbard is you do the Dole family what they did to Hawaii to make Hawaii a state as opposed to its own separate country. Could there still be animus there, even if it's unknown? Possibly. So while he always advances these very pragmatic and very I can understand it, but in action, what China has been doing to both Latin America, Africa, and the Islamic world and Southeast Asia is top down. F you, do what we tell you to do. We're gonna suck all your resources, and we will throw you a bone. Yeah, you probably learned it. You learned it definitely. Definitely learned from colonialism. I got to give it to you. The world order that'll if you, countries want to be authoritarian, we can't stop it. But if the country is a democracy and the people want to be a democracy, those are rules of democracy, of respect of each other. Yeah, we're gonna try to kick each other's butt, outmaneuver, outthink, whatever. But this is the game of power. It has nothing to do with you hating America. You hate democracy because democracy means you are held to an account, or our leaders are held to an account. So now we're at Major League Baseball. Right now, these dipshits, which is what you're saying, at least you have control over your oligarchs. Quite true. You definitely have control over your oligarchs. Everyone's thinking, oh, they're gonna Putin's backed into the corner. I doubt it. Maybe they do. I'm not trying to read into this. I just assume that they're not. I'm not going to assume that the oligarchs are going. I assume they're going to go down with the ship. The Russian people, you've beaten down the Russian people so much they'll just take a little, or actually you've made them a little bit rich. You did get because I'll give it to you. The oligarchs are acting like complete jackasses in the 90s. And most people wonder how did the oligarchs? Well, how did they get their money? Well, this is what happened during the breakup of the Soviet Union for the young people. Breakup of the Soviet Union. Yeah, what's called the commanding heights. These are like GM and all these heavy industries in America that are private, or now not private anymore, pretty much owned by China. But the commanding heights of the economy, the workers were given shares in these Now, how did the oligarchs give them a not just given shares? They were given complete all the shares of these, and the oligarchs got it by buying up or through threatening or bribing or whatever. We know Putin definitely Senator middleman himself into giving away contracts in St. Petersburg. Helped the St. Petersburg mayor. His wife is yeah, she was as corrupt as the mayor. You bought everybody off, and they bought everybody off, and they bought all the commanding heights, steel, gas, and all that. And they were kind of wrote in the show, and the whole thing when Putin broke up and created Gazprom, it's Gazprom. He he was basically saying to the oligarchs, "You can't be in politics." The Russian people were like, "Yeah." After freaking a decade of just them running roughshod over the country, they were cool. Don't blame them because it was really a wild, wild west, and the Russian mob did whatever the frack it wanted, and they were brutal. So always there's good and bad in everything that happens. But now you're outlived the good. You spent the last 10 years to build up to this war. Actually, longer than that, but you spent 10 years building up to this war. Putting in autocrats all throughout the country, all throughout the world. Setting up Nazis all throughout the world. Creating Brexit. Trying to put in Trump. Putting in Trump, actually. Try to turn the United States into an authoritarian country. Playing off of our race, off of the bigotry. So our oligarchs right now, usually, if you're truly an oligarch, you got to get yourself a team. Outside of the Roonies and Green Bay, because most of them have just been. So, anyways, baseball right now is at a standstill with the negotiations. They sent four owners from the small market teams. So basically, the guys who get the least amount of dough. So the players put together a simple thing because they're thinking it from the big picture. We're negotiating with all of MLB. But these little guys are going, we got to compete, we got to do this, and no, and then they're just being assholes partly as well. And they're still making loot. The real thing is they should be looking towards getting part of the pie from these large markets so they can compete. I have not looked at how the collective bargaining is or how things are. But the players put together a good faith offer, and the owners were just like, yeah, screw yourselves. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That ain't cool. So you need to figure out, the players need to figure out what's the cut that the large markets are taking compared to the small markets. And then figure out and work from there. Another thing is you should start the season. We own these, by we, I mean these cities, the people, paid for, because you bamboozled people, paid for these parks. They're ours. We built them, you don't own them. And if we did give them away, we need to. I usually don't do eminent domain. I think it's usually silly and stupid. But if we're paying for most of these buildings, and then you're just going to sit there and tell us to go stick it, we paid for the circus. We want the circus. So the game should go on. Tickets should be a quarter to half price. Any ticket, anything that is above either your cogs or your that covers your anything over your fixed cost in that market should be given to two or three different charities. Especially since the small market teams are saying, "Well, we don't make money in April." Okie dokie, you don't make money in April, sweet. Then it won't matter to you. Still have the games. You're not making money. Tickets are low. They're low cost. The baseball muscle can be renewed, and then if you play games, they can stop. Oh, that's actually more of a bargaining chip for the players because all of a sudden you're in 3 weeks, and then the owner said, "Well, we're not doing anything." Oh no, hell no. Oh hell no. You walk out. Oh, I bet you the fans will be nice and happy about that. Owners say, "Well, we're gonna lock you in that." Okay, we own those properties, not you guys. We paid for the circus. We want our circus. Secondary thing is now all those baseball heads who do fantasy football leagues, fantasy the fantasy players. You do a every year you're used to doing trades and this and that. Well, needs your brains. This is a dumb idea. What I'm about to say. I am only placing it out there for the assumption that you can find a better idea. Ukraine needs planes. They need to be MiGs. The question now becomes now we know on the eastern NATO's flank can't give up those planes because then we'd be weak and put in precarious positions. Can't just roll up a new F-16 to those countries that have Russian era MiGs because that requires hours and hours of training to get the fingertip feel. How to, but I'm pretty sure there's countries that want an old F-16 or even might be considered for an F-15 or something. Or you can do whatever. You are really good, and it has to be legal, of course, of trades somehow, some way. Train needs 20 MiGs, and they get them like yesterday. Put that big brain on bread and find a way of trading with different countries to come up with a way to trade away to get those MiGs into the hands of Ukrainian pilots. There's no way that convoy north of Kiev should. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going into military planning. This one is the dumb idea, and the one that I am terrified the most to say. Prior to World War II, well, during World War II, the beginnings of it, the British Army was stuck at Dunkirk with no way to get across the channel. Civilians of all types risked their lives to save theirs so they can fight again. The armies of NATO cannot cross the border of Ukraine. Well, openly cross the border of Ukraine. But no country can truly control all of its citizens. It's free citizens in a democracy. Kyiv and the people of Ukraine need resupply. And the only people that can do so legally are civilians breaking the law. The dumb idea is your Dunkirk moment. If a pilot happens to steal a old beat up military transport that happens to be filled with food, if it crosses over to the Ukrainian airspace with markings, NATO will have to shoot it down. If it still has another country's markings. Another thing is there are reports that persons of African descent, specifically Nigeria and probably other African Union countries, are being told that they cannot get out. Only Ukrainians. That's not cool. But I'm a capitalist. What is Nigeria doing to help you? If they're sending food and ammo, then they've paid for their citizens' rights to leave. Now, also, one thing though, if the men are trying to get in front of the women and children, well, well, that's just not cool, anyways. But if you're just basically just saying they can't get out, that's no. Especially if their country persons are sending aid to Ukraine, essentially paying for their way out. I call it the FU Air Force resupply. This is just a dumb idea. I know there are many people who study military planners on asymmetrical positions who can come up with this, or if it is useful, to do it in a better manner. But I do inform you that economy of force means it has to be organized, and Russia will know. But freedom is never free. A price is always paid. Whether you wish to be the bully one day or not to be bullied today, there is always a price. They need bullets, anti-air, anti-tank, anti-personnel, food, and medicine. You will be considered a mercenary. Your governments will have to arrest you upon landing on the way after returning if you make it back. I am assuming 90% casualties if such a thing was to happen. Now, do I believe how many planes, small and large and medium? I figured about 5,000. Overwhelm the Air Force, overwhelm the ground forces so that they can get in and out. You can get in and out as quickly and fast as possible, especially if you, once you get Ukrainian Air Force into planes. As I said, this is just a dumb idea. Military planners in Europe are freaking out right now. But because they can't do that, and no country can truly control all of its citizens. As I said, if you happen to steal a military transport or find one out in the middle of some third world country and it happens to be filled up with supplies such as artillery and food and stuff, well, and it just happens to fly over into Ukraine, if it has markings, NATO will have to shoot it down. But if it doesn't have any markings, then I can't, and you will get arrested on the way back. But freedom is never free. I know there's much better ways of doing this. I'm probably pissing off some logistics planner someplace. But if it can't be done, at least get as much to the refugees and to the persons who are going to fight for their homeland. For one thing, bullies will know. If they see that, if they see any weakness, they will not stop. While doing business with China and other countries in the spirit of competition and kick butt, it's one thing. But in the game of power, raw power, this is different. If you want a dipolar or a tripolar world, it's actually more a dipolar world because China and Russia. Is it going to be authoritarianism or democracy? Are the people who can control the oligarchs, or is it just going to be one dude? Which always leads to a very deadly game of keeping up with the Joneses. My pecker's bigger than your pecker. Wee! Except it's with your kids' lives. As I said, it's a dumb idea. And if it can't be done, that's cool. Well, it's not really cool, but if it can't be done in mass, You can't get thousands of planes, small, large, flying at once, overwhelm their defenses, at the same time attacking on the ground. Then there will be a lot of losses. And even if you do, there still may be a lot of losses. That's why I said it's dumb. Economy of force, economy of mass. Kiev needs to be resupplied, and the countryside soldiers need to be resupplied. Because it's out in the countryside that they're going to get the slaughter, that they can attack. While Russia encircles the cities and tries to go into the cities, the countryside can encircle Russia and flank their flank. That's only a hypothesis, of course. I know there are persons who, once again, who are studied and much better ideas as far as that is concerned, the military sciences. But this is, like I said, a dumb idea. But in whatever way you can help, whatever way you can show to the world, the democracy, the idea that the average person believes in themselves and their country and their idea, that they can believe in another person having a go at it. That's what it means. To get a shot to make your mark on the world. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to democracy.